Hi everyone. Today we're going to talk about pass by value in Java. So Java as a language is actually pass by value, right? So let's talk about how this pass by value, what does it mean in context of primitive data types in Java? Primitive data types are nothing but like integers, floats, double, etc. And how does pass by value work when it comes to non-primitive data types like you have your arrays and objects? Okay, so let's start. So this is also an interview question. Most of the time the question asked is, Java as a language, is it pass by value or pass by reference? And people usually get confused because the way your arrays or objects actually work when you send them inside functions, right? Please remember, Java as a language is a pass by value. And maybe in today's lecture, you get an answer how pass by value really affects the functioning of non-primitive data types when you pass them as parameters inside functions. So let's begin. The first part, primitive data types. So let's say you have a function. We have a public static void main. So in your main function, it's writing pseudocode. In your main function, you have a variable saying integer a has a value of 10. You have a function here, suppose void, let's call it as some helper function. It takes in a value integer x. Let's try to x equal to, let's try to add x plus 2. And then what we need to do is system.out.println x, right? Simple function. Here what I'm going to do is, call the function help and send the value a. Let me print the value of a here, right? So because Java is a pass by value, what is going to happen is, and a is a primitive data type, right? Because it's an integer type. What is going to happen is, whatever value you pass to a here, let's take a different color and check whatever value which you're going to pass here as 10, okay, a copy is passed. Meaning, suppose if a, this value variable a, which is present in main, right here, is going to be supposed to storing the value a and it is at an address a1. What you are sending is a copy of a. That means you are not sending the address a1, but rather you are merely sending the value 10, which is present inside the variable at stored at a location at address a1. So this 10 goes as a value. Now you're calling this, right? So the caller is going to go here, right? Now this x, now this whatever you see inside this function, this will be stored inside some memory, which will be different from the memory where your main program is stored, right? Because this is a function, every function of the class will have its own memory. So when this function is called void help, it will have its own memory to store an integer x. Now this x would be, this address might be some address a4, which is different from a1, which is originally has a value 10. Because this 10 is now passed here, because you're passing the value here, that means now you're saying this x, which has an address a4, which is part of the memory of the help function, will have a value stored as a4. Now in this line you say x equal to x plus 2, means you're making changes here. Now whatever value of 10, 10 plus 2 is get a value of 11. So what you're going to have in x is effectively the value of 12. Correct? And then you're going to print x. So what gets printed on the screen? On the screen will be printed number 12. As soon as you finish this function is over here, right? If it function is over, because it's a void, there is no return type, it is going to go back to the caller, right? There's nothing to return to the caller, but before it goes, it is going to make sure that computer's compiler is going to make sure, your JVM is going to make sure that this particular memory has been erased. Why? Because the function's execution is done. That means the memory or the address where this variable x was stored does not exist anymore. Now when you come back to this function main. Now this main memory still has a variable a which is stored at an address a1. Did we make any changes to a1? No, because we did not send the address a1, rather we send the value which was stored inside that address, which was value as 10. So now when you come back and you simply say print a, you will get a value which is still 10, because the changes whatever you did inside this help function will not be reflected after the function is over. This is what the concept of pass by value is. So when it comes to primitive data types like integers, byte, short, long, double, all these primitive data types are going to be sent by using the concept of pass by value in Java. All right, so this is easy. This is a first bit which is very easy. The second bit where usually people get confused is how does pass by value work for non-primitive data types, right? So non-primitive data types, as if you know, are nothing but, you can think of those as if you know chemistry, right? In chemistry, we have something called as atoms and we have something called as molecules, correct? So molecules are nothing but made up of atoms, right? So non-primitive data types can be thought of, they are composed of one or more primitive types. So that can be considered as a non-primitive data type. So the famous non-primitive data type which everybody is aware of is arrays. Let's take integer array. So this is a non-primitive data type which is composed of, integers, right? One integer is a primitive data type. You have a collection of, integers which becomes an integer array. Now let's take the same function, main function. Now instead of sending in the value a, the variable a, let's try to pass the array a and let's see what happens and how does it work. So let me write the main function here, right? Here I'll have an integer array a equal to new int, and let me create an implicit array here which has values 12, 14 and 15. Okay, here I'm going to call the function help, right? And I'm going to say pass the value of this array a, and simply this is, and let's write a pseudo code which is going to print the values for the array, right? So this is just a pseudo code. All right, now let's do one thing. We'll have to write this help function also. Let's write the help function here. Void help. Let's say it is going to take in an integer array. Let's give a different name, x. Here what we are going to do is we are going to say x of, let's say 0, all right, equal to some value, let's say 5, right? Then what we'll do is print all the values which are of array x, and then we can simply return, right? So let's see how this works. Now a is nothing but an integer array. So integer arrays are nothing but a continuous allocation of memory. So in memory, what you're going to get is there will be some address where a1 is there, which is basically the address of the first element of your array, right? I hope everybody knows how arrays work. So this is 12, this is 14, this is 15, right? And you have a, and a is basically going to store the address of the first element of your array, which is 12. All right, so this is index 0, index 1, index 2. That's why whenever if you don't know how a of 0 or why the index of an array in Java or any programming language starts from 0, you can check out my link where I have explained in detail that how and how does a of I actually get calculated behind the scenes. All right, so a of I actually is nothing but, you can simply say it is a plus I into, suppose if it's an integer array, one integer actually takes 4 bytes of memory to be stored. So this is how the address is calculated. That means this a, which you can see, which is the name of the array, actually stores the address of the first element of your array. So a is storing a1. If you have to reach the first element of the array, we simply do a of 0. The a of 0 can be written now as a plus 0 into 4, which is nothing but a. Right? And what is a? A is nothing but the address of the first element of your array, and that's how you can access your first array element. Okay, and this is why you can also access your array elements in the form of indexes, because it's continuous memory. All right, so now having known this, what we are going to do is when you send this array into as an argument, or as a parameter to your function help, because Java is pass by value, you are actually sending a copy of a1. You are basically sending this a will basically have the address a1 which has been sent. All right, you are just sending the copy, whatever value, like if you remember from the primitive data types, because here integer, it was an integer, we just sent whatever value was stored inside that variable, which is 10. In our case right now, this variable a, because it's an integer array, name of an integer array, it's actually going to store the address of the first element of the array. So you're going to simply send in here a1, which is the address of the first element of the array. Now because this is sent in, when you come here from void help a1, what is this going to do? This is now going to have its own memory, right? Now when you say integer x, actually when I say x of 0, right? When you say x of 0, how this gets evaluated? This is nothing but x plus 0 into 4 bytes. Tell me what is the address of x? X address is a1. A1 plus 0 into 4 bytes. That means now you are accessing what element? You are actually accessing the element 12. It is basically, in other words, I have one more, variable x, which is pointing also to address A1, similar to your A variable. All right. So now when I say x of 0 equal to 5, what is happening is you are actually making changes where you are actually making changes at A1. Where is A1 here? So you are telling here from 12 you have to make changes 5. But if you remember, if you can see, this is the same copy for the main function as well, right? This is the difference. When it comes to non-primitive data types, though it is passed by value, you can make changes inside the contents of that non-primitive data type. Like array can be considered as basically it's an object, right? So the contents of that arrays are nothing but array elements. You can make changes inside it, right? But you cannot manipulate the memory per se. We'll look at it also shortly. But I hope you understood this, because it's passed by value. You are sending the address which is stored in the variable A, and A happens to be the name of the array. Name of the array basically stores the address of the first element of the array, right? So that's why you're sending in the address of x. Now x will have the address, and when I say x of 0, you're going to basically alter the main memory. From your 12 it is going to become 5. Now if I print the values which are stored inside the x array, I'm going to get 5, 14 and 15. Now after you come back, after you finish this x variable which was pointing to the address A1 will be destroyed, because the memory which is because this x was created inside the help function, right? Once help function is done its execution, the memory which it had created will also get destroyed. So now the x does not exist. So you have only one variable which is pointing to the block of 3 elements. Now when you print the values here also, 5, 14 and 15. So though it's passed by value, for non-primitive data types in Java, you can change the contents of the of that particular object. Hope this is clear. Now what is something which you cannot do? Why I cannot say pass by reference? Usually when I tell this to students then say, then this is passed by reference. No, this is not passed by reference. This is still passed by value. If it would have been passed by reference, then the next thing which I'm going to show will not have been possible. So let's say, now instead of this particular, you're having x of 0 equal to 5. Let's make changes here. What we'll do is, we'll try to assign x equal to new integer array, right? And let's put values as 5 and 10. Okay, so now we have not changed this. Let's keep it as 12 only, right? So we have this 12. All right, so you can say 5 and 10. So what you're saying, we had a which is pointing to x. Okay, this was when you sent it from here, right? When it came inside this help function, what we are saying is we're creating a new array. We are saying this is x. Okay, we are creating a new array, integer x. All right, and we are saying that it is nothing but, okay, what we are saying is x equal to new int 5 and 10. Okay, even let me remove this part. We are just going to say that x equal to new int this. Why did I remove this? Because this is already defined, right? It's x variable is a type of an integer array. So if you do this, what you're trying to say is that you are saying this x was initially pointing to an address A1. Now you're saying make x point to what? Point to some block of memory which has these two numbers 5 and 10. Let's say this is stored at some address A6. Now x is pointing to where? A6. Now let's say if I say print all the values which are present in the x array, you are going to get values 5 and 10, because x is now pointing to A6, which has the value 5 stored in it. When you return from here, from the help function, whatever memory you have created inside this function will get destroyed. So what will get destroyed? Obviously this memory gets destroyed, even x gets destroyed. Once you come back here, then now you have to print the values of the array A. Tell me, did array A or the contents of the array change? No. So you simply could do 12, 14 and 15, right? Because it was passed by value, because Java is passed by, because this is passed by value, you could not completely alter the memory. This was a memory, right? Actually, what if it was passed by reference? If Java was passed by reference, by doing this line, actually this should have get, cancelled out, and A should have pointed to a new array 5, 10. This would have been possible only and only if Java was passed by reference. But Java is not passed by reference. Because Java is not passed by reference, you cannot alter the memory references. You cannot do pointer arithmetic. You cannot do addition, subtraction of pointers at all. So that is why, because Java is passed by value, you cannot do that, and therefore this does not work. This is going to actually create a new array, and this memory will get destroyed once the function help is finished its execution. Okay, so that's why this is how pass by. So whenever you get an interview question and by asking ki is Java pass by value or a pass by reference, please remember it's a pass by value. If they ask an explanation, you can simply give this thing. It is a pass by value, but because array element stores the first element, right? So you can make changes in the contents of the array, but you cannot simply make this A point to some another array or simply make this A point to an empty memory. That is not possible. Okay, let's check this quickly on my IntelliJ. Here if you see, here I have a simple, this file you can find on GitHub. I will link it down as well. So here I have a simple array A 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have actually created a function which is alter values. Here I have actually printed the value of A of 0. Then I changed it to 12. Initially it was 1. I changed it to 12. Then tried to print it. Let's simply run this code and check. So you can see before the value was 1, after it is 12. So when I print it, I get 12 to 3, 4, 5. It was when initially 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I get 12 to 3, 4, 5, which is fine. That is what we wanted. Once you have finished execution of alter values, what I'm going to do is I'm come back to my main function and I'm going to again print the values of the array. I should now get still 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 because I should now get 12, 2, 3, 4, 5 because contents of the array can be changed, and this is what we have got here, 12, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? After that, what we can do is we can call basically a change array. When you do this change array, right? When you do change array, what I'm doing is A equal to new int 12, 13, right? That means I'm making it completely change to a new array which has only one element 13. After this also, if you try to print, the array is not going to change. It's still going to be 12, 2, 3, 4, 5 because you cannot completely make the reference, the array name to change completely pointed to some new array. That is not possible. We cannot do that. We can only change the contents of the array, but we cannot make it point to some another array. So that is not possible because Java is a pass by value. Hope this helps.